The most frustrating part about self-improvement isn't failing, it's staying stuck. Because failure at least gives you an answer. You know what went wrong. You know what needs to change. You know what happened. But staying stuck is different. Staying stuck feels like you're permanently standing on the edge of becoming the person you want to be. Always one breakthrough away, one habit away, one reset away, one productive month away. And eventually, you realize you spent years preparing for a future version of yourself that never seems to arrive. You keep telling yourself that you're working on it, that you're getting there, that you're building momentum. But deep down, a question starts creeping into your mind. Why am I still trying to fix the same things? And I think that's where self improvement starts becoming dangerous. Not because it's bad, because it can become addictive. If you look back to when you actually started self improvement, you can probably remember that it started as an escape plan and it never changed. That was never a goal that was meant to change. It was always meant to get you out of somewhere. You found yourself in a specific spot in your life where you're like, I need to change. I need to get out of the spot. I need to change the person that I am. I can't keep having the same habits that I have. I can't keep living the same life that I want to, that I'm living. And you kind of you might not have hit a point where you're like, screw this, like I'm gonna like lock in and become David Goggins. But you definitely hit a breaking point where you were like, I can't keep doing this anymore. I can't keep living like this. You kind of looked into the future and you were like, if life carries on like this, I can't accept that. And you found self improvement and you fully committed. I know that was when I fully committed, when I realized self improvement is what I need to actually improve my life, right? It's in the name. But the goal was never to stay in self improvement. The goal was always to go further, right? The promise was a temporary sacrifice. It was meant to be cool. I'm going to lock in for the next however many years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And I'm going to change. My life is going to change. My financial situation is going to change. My social situation is going to change. I'm going to change fundamentally as a person. I'm finally going to start living the life that I actually want to live. But it was meant to kind of be like a graph where your locked inness, if I can say that, over time was meant to, like, you're supposed to like be really high. And then as time passes, you're supposed to kind of just hit a plateau in terms of, I'm not freaking measuring, how many pages I'm reading a day or how many minutes I'm meditating every single day or, you know, counting my calories every day. It was never meant to be that. It was meant to be, I can use the gym as a perfect example. I know this is the way I pictured it. It was cool. Okay, I need to lock in for like 2, 3 years, cut, bulk. And then eventually get to a place where I don't need to cut and bulk every single year. It was meant to get to a place where I'm like, I'm pretty decent with this physique. I'm obviously going to keep gymming and keep eating somewhat decently. But it was meant to not simmer out, but it was meant to hit a place where it just chills. It's, I can't find the word. I don't know why I can't find it. It was meant to hit a place where it just isn't so high intensity all the time. It was meant to just slow down and finally just have a place where it's stagnant. Like it's not stagnant from a progress perspective, but I mean, dude, when you started self improvement, how many people are like, man, I want to let's stick to the gym example. Gym was obviously going to be one of the things, right? You want to transform the way you look. You want to be in shape. How many of us were like, I want to be somebody that is tracking my calories, meticulously, bulking, cutting, every 3, 6 months for the rest of my life. I know I definitely didn't want that. For me, it was kind of lock in for 3 years, 3, 4 years, get into like great shape, and then just maintain that. You were meant to hit a maintenance point. And I think the problem comes when, one, you don't hit that escape velocity. Like you never actually become consistent enough to see life changing results. So, like for me, I hit a point where I changed. Like I changed the way my body looked. I was actually pretty like happy with it. I still needed to put on more muscle, but I got to a point where it was quite decent, and then it kind of just dropped. Like if we're using the graph of like consistency in terms of around the gym, I was like here, and then it will always kind of just up and down, and then it eventually just dropped when I started working. And now I'm like, I feel like I'm back at square one, and it's like now I got to go back and do it again. And that's one point, where you don't hit that escape velocity, where you finally hit that point where you can just maintain. Because the tough part of the human condition is that we're not built for like just chilling. I don't know about you, but for me, like I'm either like completely locked in or I'm completely locked out, if I can use that word. right? And that's tough because now it takes effort to maintain. But I think that's still the goal, right? The goal is still, let me put in that crap ton of effort, front load all the work I'm supposed to do, build serious, get serious results, and then get to a place where it's more maintainable. Because I want to have like a family, and I want to have other things going on in my life, and I don't want to be out of shape. I still want to stay in shape. I want to be, but I don't want to be doing 6 days a week, push pull legs, crazy freaking 1.5 hour workouts. When I'm like a dad, I want to be like, cool, I'm in good shape. I eat decent. I go to the gym maybe 3 times a week. I play sports with the boys on the weekend. I go on walks with my family, whatever the case is. But it's like it's a maintaining. Now I'm not obsessively trying to self improve the whole time, and I'm focused on other things now. And I think the other tough part is that the idea of productivity starts to become. I've heard this concept called self improvement masturbation, and I mean, it's in the name, right? It basically gets to a point where you're not actually worried about improving. You're worried more about feeling like you're improving. And I mean, this is just your brain, like just leaning into the way it is, right? That's why a lot of people say, when you want to start a goal, don't go around telling everybody, because now you start to get the feeling of accomplishment. Your brain does that, man. It's a form of procrastination. It's, I know I should be changing my life. I'm obsessed with the idea of changing my life. I really want to change my life, but I don't really feel like going to the gym. So I'm going to watch a video on how to improve in the gym. And now I feel like I'm actually improving, but you're not. And it reminds me of this clip I remember seeing from Chris Williamson's podcast, where they were speaking about how, talking about doing the thing is not doing the thing. Preparing to do the thing is not doing the thing. Planning to do the thing is not doing the thing. Doing the thing is doing the thing. And I think that's something that can save us from this thing. I lost the word. That's what can save us from this phenomenon of like self-improvement masturbation, right? Of, I'm not being productive, but I like feeling productive. So now I'm going to take kind of something that makes me feel productive, but I'm not actually doing something. The way you escape from that is literally, what's the thing? What's the point of highest leverage? What's this thing I need to be doing? And I think that that's what really makes self-improvement difficult for a lot of us, is that we kind of got to a place where it's like, okay, I'm still obsessed with the idea of changing my life. I'm not quite doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm procrastinating, but I still want to feel like I'm being productive. And I think that's where most people get trapped. Because self improvement gives you something incredibly seductive, the feeling of progress. Not progress itself, the feeling of progress. You watch another podcast, you buy another book, you start another challenge, you redesign your routine. And every one of those things feels productive. It feels like you're moving forward. But motion and progress are not the same thing. Sometimes they're not even close. And the dangerous thing is that consuming self improvement feels almost identical to doing self improvement. One gives you information, the other changes your life. And if you're not careful, you can spend years collecting information about the man you want to become without actually becoming him. You can become an expert in self improvement while quietly remaining stuck. And I think that's why so many people feel frustrated. Not because they're lazy, not because they're incapable, but because they've mistaken preparation for transformation.